The fire still burned in the distance. Kasia stood at the edge of the cliff, watching smoke rise from what used to be the northern territory. The wind carried ash and the faint scent of wolf's blood. Her hands trembled, but not from fear. From something else entirely. Something she couldn't name yet. 3 days ago, she'd given the order. 3 days ago, she'd watched her wolves cross into enemy land and tear through the Alpha King's northernmost pack. Not all of them. Just enough. Just enough to send a message that echoed across mountains and valleys. A message written in claw marks and shattered bones. They came for us first, she reminded herself. They came for the children. Her second-in-command, Brenna, approached from behind. Kasia heard the soft pad of feet on stone before the woman spoke. The scouts returned, Brenna said quietly. He's coming. Kasia didn't turn around. She kept her eyes on that distant smoke. How many? All of them. Brenna moved to stand beside her. Every pack under his command. They say he's bringing an army. Of course he is. Kasia's voice was steady, though her heart hammered against her ribs. I killed 37 of his wolves. He won't let that stand. Brenna was silent for a moment. Then she said what they were both thinking. We can't win against that many. I know. The older woman turned to face her. Then why did you do it? Why start a war we can't finish? Kasia finally looked at her. Brenna's face was weathered, scarred from decades of fighting. She'd been with Kasia's family since before Kasia was born. She'd taught her how to hunt, how to lead, how to survive. But she hadn't taught her this. How to make impossible choices. How to sacrifice everything for those you love. They took Marin's children, Kasia said softly. They dragged them across our border in the middle of the night and we never saw them again. Then they came back for more. They were hunting our young, Brenna. Picking them off one by one. Testing us. Seeing how much we'd tolerate before we broke. So you broke their pack instead. I protected ours. Kasia's voice hardened. I did what I had to do. Brenna shook her head slowly. The Alpha King won't see it that way. To him, you're just another rogue who needs to be put down. He doesn't care about stolen children or border raids. He only cares that you challenged his authority. Then let him come, Kasia said. Let him look me in the eye and tell me I was wrong to protect my own. But even as she said it, doubt crept in. Cold and unwelcome. Because Brenna was right. The Alpha King, Daverin, ruled these lands with absolute authority. He commanded 12 packs, hundreds of wolves, territories that stretched from the eastern sea to the western mountains. And Kasia? She led 43 wolves. Mostly females. Mostly outcasts who'd fled from other packs seeking refuge. They called themselves the Thornwood Pack. They'd carved out a small territory in the most unforgiving part of the wilderness, where the ground was rocky and the winters were brutal. No one wanted this land. That's why they'd been allowed to keep it. That's why they'd survived this long. Until now. How long do we have? Kasia asked. 2 days. Maybe 3 if they stop to rest. 2 days. Kasia closed her eyes. 2 days to prepare for the end of everything she'd built. Everything she'd fought for. Gather everyone, she said. I need to speak with them before he arrives. Brenna hesitated. What will you tell them? The truth. Kasia opened her eyes and turned away from the cliff. That I'm sorry. That I knew what this would cost. And that I'd do it again. She walked back toward the settlement, her boots crunching on loose stone. Behind her, Brenna followed in silence. The Thornwood settlement was modest. 23 structures built from timber and stone, clustered together in a natural valley protected on 3 sides by steep cliffs. There was a central fire pit where they gathered for meals and meetings. A healing house where the wounded were tended. A storehouse that was never quite full enough. It wasn't much, but it was theirs. Wolves moved through the camp with quiet efficiency. Some were preparing weapons. Others were reinforcing the defensive barriers at the valley entrance. Everyone knew what was coming. Everyone had known from the moment Kasia gave the order to strike. A young wolf named Petra ran up to her. The girl couldn't have been more than 16 winters. Her eyes were wide with fear. Alpha, she said breathlessly. Is it true? Is the king really coming here? Kasia stopped and placed a hand on the girl's shoulder. He's coming. What will we do? We'll face him together. Kasia squeezed gently. Go help with the barriers. We need them strong. Petra nodded and hurried away. Kasia watched her go, feeling the weight of every young life in this camp pressing down on her shoulders. She'd promised them safety. She'd promised them a home. And now she was leading them into a battle they couldn't win. But what choice did I have? She thought bitterly. What choice did any of us have? She made her way to her own dwelling, a small structure at the far end of the settlement. Inside it was sparse. A sleeping mat. A table. A few personal belongings. She'd never allowed herself more than necessary. Leaders didn't get to be comfortable. Not when their people were still struggling. Kasia sat down heavily on the edge of her mat and let out a long breath. Her whole body ached with exhaustion. She hadn't slept properly in days. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the raid. Saw her wolves tearing through the northern pack's territory. Heard the screams. Smelled the blood. It had been brutal. Efficient. Exactly what she'd ordered. And it had been necessary. She kept telling herself that. Kept repeating it like a prayer. Because if it wasn't necessary, if there had been another way, then she was just a murderer. Just another tyrant willing to spill blood to prove a point. She shook her head firmly. They gave me no choice. They came for our children first. A shadow fell across her doorway. Kasia looked up to see Brenna standing there. They're gathering, the older woman said. Are you ready? Kasia stood and straightened her shoulders. As ready as I'll ever be. They walked together to the central fire pit. The entire pack was assembled there, 43 souls looking to her for guidance. For hope. For a miracle she didn't have. Kasia stepped into the center of the circle and waited for silence. When every eye was on her, she began. 3 nights ago, I led 15 of our warriors across the northern border, she said. Her voice carried clearly in the still air. We struck at the Ravenstone pack. We destroyed their hunting grounds. We killed their fighters. We sent a message written in blood and fire. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some approving. Some fearful. I did this, Kasia continued, because they came for us first. Because they stole our children and laughed at our grief. Because they thought we were weak. Thought we would bend. Thought we would break. Her voice grew stronger. But we are Thornwood. We don't bend. We don't break. We survive. A few wolves howled in agreement. Others remained silent. Now the Alpha King is coming, Kasia said. He's bringing every pack under his command. He's coming to punish us for daring to fight back. For daring to protect our own. I'll keep trying, she said finally. Keep working to build something better. Keep questioning my own decisions. And maybe that'll be enough. Maybe that'll keep me from becoming what he was. It will, Brenna said confidently. I believe in you. Your pack believes in you. Don't lose faith in yourself now. They stood together, watching the sun set over territories that were finally, tentatively, free. It wasn't perfect. Probably never would be. But it was theirs. Built on cooperation rather than domination. On choice rather than coercion. And that, Kasia thought, had to count for something. Had to mean that all the sacrifices, all the compromises, all the terrible choices had served a purpose. She'd destroyed Daverin's pack to protect her own. He'd demanded her surrender or death. And in the end, she'd given him neither. She'd given him revolution. Change. The end of his empire and the birth of something new. Whether that new thing would survive, would thrive, remained to be seen. But at least they had a chance now. A real chance to be better than what had come before. That was all anyone could ask for. All anyone could hope to achieve. And it would have to be enough. The end.